Welcome everybody to another episode of the Rugby Bits Pod. It's been a great a great weekend of rugby. As now we have a break with the Springboks having won in the weekend, and Australia deciding not knowing how to play rugby for a second half with Argentina winning. But I'm not alone. I am joined by Sharky. Sharky, how are you doing
Ah,
on this
mate,
call?
yeah, I'm so good. Sorry to interrupt you. What are you saying? How am I doing in this cold? Are you also
Yeah,
suffering?
and suffering in this cold here in here in Port Elizabeth, Port Gqeberha.
Yeah, out here on the West Coast, it feels like our non-existent mountains have snow on it as well. It's kind of chilly, but I'm good. Yeah, a lovely weekend of rugby. Wow. And so much happening. The Khaleesi news is now confirmed. Um, the Premiership in the URC kicks off in a week and a half. The top 14 got underway. It's been a busy one.
It has been, yeah. I mean, I must say, I think obviously the Khaleesi news has sort of dominated the rugby world in the last probably today, but it does feel like I mean so much has happened since Saturday. But I think let's quickly start off with the Khaleesi news. Obviously, got confirmed yesterday that he was leaving Racing 92, and then today the Sharks are welcoming back home. Sharky, what's your take on Siya Kolisi returning back to the Sharks?
Yeah, I love that he's coming back. Personally, I would have, when all this shit went down at the end of last season, I just wanted him to stay for one more year and just dominate for them and then leave. Like I'm kind of nasty like that. But yeah, so he's come back home and that's great. I think Lancaster came out and said that, they were under the impression that they had signed Khaleesi and he would retire from international rugby, and that's obviously not the case. I don't see I don't see where they would have got that idea from because there were not many people in South Africa thinking that he wasn't going to be part of the Springboks after the World Cup. Like, I mean, if you're honest with yourself, you definitely wanted him in the mix. So that was a weird one, but yeah, he's back. The fact that he's going to the Sharks is interesting. Like they love loading positions. Um, they definitely are starting to get a bit of depth in some really important places. I suppose they've had it for a while. It's all about them kind of just clicking, which is the biggest issue. But that loose trio battle is going to be something else.
I think it's gonna be very interesting because I think obviously I mean we on rugby bits, and especially Rio knows if everyone needs game time, we try to send them to the lines as quickly as possible. And with like someone like Monich, with Emmanuel Chichuka coming along, and then obviously Sia coming back. I mean, it's great to have Sia back in the country. I think obviously that's the number one thing I'm thinking about. I think obviously now it's about that loose forward, the loose trio balance. I just feel like, yeah, if you have sort of CA, you got to play Pepsi at 8. I, it did kind of feel like we sort of see Emmanuel Chichuka in that sixth position. Probably now, maybe the Sharks can possibly see him at 8 as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, we know that Sia obviously will be rested probably most of the first half. So you won't be playing as many Sharks games, but you sort of look into the future when the push comes to shove, when they are back full time. But yeah, it's great to have him back full time. I'm hoping the Sharks. I saw there's a businessman who sort of stepped up. I saw the Sharks have to front up that massive bill and bring him home. But yeah, glad to see him back in the country. And I think obviously as Sharks fans, I'm sure we are happy to add another Springbok to our ranks. I mean, Sharky, what's that, like 55 Springboks playing for us next season in the
Yeah,
URC?
and they'll only play Champions Cup games. We're starting to talking about playing Champions Cup games. You see, Johnny Sexton was at the Springbok game on Saturday.
I know. And the funny thing is, like, I
It's
love
the
how you
first time he's been in South Africa for rugby ever.
that is incredible. I mean, obviously, like Tyler said in our group, he would be very, very shocked. That Lens has coming up for the last 3 years. He probably can't believe it. Like in his mind, the only away game Lens to play is the Champions Cup.
Exactly. He would have opened up his phone after landing, and the Leinster group chat would have been giving him places to go, and he'd be like, "Shit, have you guys ever been here before?"
Yeah.
Um,
it,
but yeah,
it,
back
it,
to the Sharks. Sorry.
no, I was saying it was great to see him out. I did find it funny that when you put out there saying that you actually had to retire for him to get him down to South Africa, because I think he must have been injured in 2016 when Alex Coetzee first
Yes.
year. Yeah.
Yes, he was injured for that, but he definitely wasn't injured for the six tours that Leinster took. Was
No.
it two a year? Maybe 4 or 5, but anyway. Yeah,
No,
the
definitely not
banter,
Egypt.
the banter. Yeah, I am excited. I, if we're honest. So just one more thing on that Khaleesi thing. I've been kind of thinking, like, is it perhaps that after winning the World Cup, like life was just so much bigger and it was just so challenging for him? Like the Khaleesi Foundation was cooking, so much was happening. Perhaps like the winning of the World Cup really made European life challenging for a South African based star or world based star, but South African born. So I was thinking that maybe that was challenging. Like if you're looking at things that are like hard to move over there, he had so many things on the go here. Um, on the topic of the Springboks for like the third time, I apologize. It's going to be good. The thing is about the Sharks. It's the same story. It's about the balance. It's about continuity. It's about like getting a like winning mentality and making it a habit. They I'm saying all of this in hope, but you would think that they have learned from the last couple of years. You would think that the Challenge Cup will change the perception internally because you can be as positive as you want, but inside your house, like, you know what's going on. You know the shit that's going down, like if you're not having a good run or whatever. So, yeah. And perhaps now, the second time round, like everyone will approach Khaleesi there differently, himself included. Perhaps like he will be more or less involved in certain spaces and things will be sorted out better. I have faith, but that's blind faith.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Sharks' issues are well documented. I think we have, I mean, obviously an embarrassment riches of Springboks, but the problem is once the Boks aren't available, the Sharks tend to look like college rovers when they're playing in the URC. It's basically trying to find that balance. I think obviously Amani Jatuka makes a massive difference, and Andrea, they do make a massive difference for those situations where I think that's where the Sharks are going to find that balance. I think obviously, and I know that obviously, if the Sharks can just find a way to get themselves in playoff contention, then you sort of you can get a situation in the Challenge Cup where sort of experience carries them through because of the sheer number of quality the Sharks have in the Springbok. So yeah, really hoping that they do find that balance. I mean, obviously they're going to be with other Springboks. I mean, I know URC has been pushed back. The South African team's a week later, but I think the Sharks go on tour straight away. So the first test will already be there. But I think obviously, like we saw the likes of Masuku come through, and Ethan Hooker. So hopefully now the Sharks got enough depth to sort of weather the storm of when the Boks aren't there and sort of be able to go on get onto a run and the Boks do come back. So, but we'll see. But talking about the Springboks, I know the dirt trackers.
Can I just jump in while we're
Yeah.
talking about like embarrassment of riches? When it comes to the Sharks, I was having a little look-see at the center options. They've got Esther as an Hooker, Julius, Fenter, and Hendricks can play 12, which I don't think they'll need. But like just the loose trio and the centers are like fighting hard for game time. Like you have to be absolutely ridiculously on top of your game.
100%, and that's the two positions the Sharks actually were with. I mean, they had numbers, but the quality wasn't there. But now I think the Sharks have been able to add quality depth in the loosies and at center, which is very exciting. But I'm sure the dirt trackers would love to get onto the crux of our part of and what we want to speak about. I mean, we did have a fantastic game of rugby in the weekend. And talking about the dirt trackers, sorry, Sean, I just wanted to say to all the dirt trackers that send me messages and tweets and well wishes and condolences from my own passing. I want to say thank you so much for your guys' support. I really, really appreciate all the messages. And yeah, it's definitely means a lot to me. And I really, really appreciate you guys. So yeah, just want to give a massive shout out to our dirt trackers first and foremost. And then, yeah, let's get to the game. Sharky, I mean, what's that? 18-12, Springboks beating the All Blacks. Fourth straight win. First time since many, many moons ago. I think none of us, Tyler may have been alive, but I know so we weren't. But I'm always going to have a dig at Tyler. I have to. But what a performance from the Springboks. And yeah, I think 18-12, I mean, all but sealed the Rugby Championship. I think we may need a point or two. I think against Argentina, a win, obviously, Argentina, in one of those two games definitely wins the tournament. But I mean, what a performance from the Springboks. Back-to-back wins in South Africa. I think going into this sort of, like, I'll say, tour for the All Blacks, I think most of the Africans would have taken 1-1, but to sit here and having won both those games, I think it's an incredible achievement. But Shocky, what a test match on the weekend! I mean, I don't even know where to get started. You started the 20 defenders beating by the All Blacks. You started the Springboks line out just failing again, or the Springboks once again finding another way to win a chess match in the clutch.
It is huge. Winning the way we've won over the last couple of weeks, beating Ireland in the first test and just losing the second test, like these are massive bits of experience that a whole bunch of players get to kind of take on board. Yeah, it was a much stronger start from New Zealand. Interestingly, when Jamie and I chatted ahead of the game, spoke about how, like, the guys that he put to the bench of Barrett and Perinara, about how they're going to have to come and take control of the game, and that's what they were missing. Kind of feel like New Zealand were backtracking and being dictated to, which is really something they're not used to. But we managed to pull it together. We are very, very, very comfortable in our own space. Very comfortable in our game plan. We're starting to get that belief in everything where things don't seem to rattle us too much, which is huge. Like, if you look against Ireland, I know we lost the second test, but that comeback that we did with Pollard, like, kicking those points, we were properly in the mix. And if it wasn't for those 2 drop goals, we obviously would have won. So yeah, the Springboks are really looking good, playing their own game plan, just kind of managing things with a whole bunch of new players. So it was good. I was super impressed with Siya Kolisi. Like, and the other thing that I realized, like, the one thing is the Springboks I think we've learned to kind of beat the All Blacks now. I think they've lost their vibe a little bit, and we're starting to know that we are the better side, even though we represent it differently. But we've been keeping the All Blacks away from Cape Town for such a long time, and we've all spoken about why and how, different reasons and that. But what we really didn't realize was how flippin' important it was for our Cape Town schooled and Western Province based Springboks to actually play the All Blacks in front of their home fans and their family. And it's, excuse me, it seemed like that was a big motivator. Kolisi at the end of the game, the way he was speaking, like, we forget about that. Like, they also playing the All Blacks is probably the pinnacle of Test rugby for the Springboks. We have such a great vibe. It's probably the most, it's the best battle in Test rugby, and we've kept our star Springboks from playing them at their home ground for so long. So I just think from that point of view was also pretty cool.
I think for me, my biggest takeaway was just, barring World Cups, I mean, in knockout games, I think, Tale and I, for example, have been crying out for the Springboks to sort of, dominate, like in the year between World Cups. And there's a big issue I think that the Boks had for a while of not sort of putting together performances back-to-back weeks, where like we had the Null spread sort of game, and then 2 years ago, and then we sort of let them come back at Ellis Park and basically kept Ian Foster gave Ian Foster a job. But we always seem to have a little bit like this year against Ireland, where we're great that first half and that first test, won the first test, and then sort of put a bit of a stinker in that second test where Ireland won by a drop goal. But now to see the Boks sort of go in this Rugby Championship, these 4 wins, and finding different ways to win each week. Against Australia, we were fantastic with ball in hand in the first test in the rain. We controlled that game. And this weekend against the All Blacks as well, where last week, it was a bit of a high scoring affair, where this week our scramble defense was probably our standout to the way we scrambled, and also the way our forwards were able to gain control of both sort of tests. So to see that happen again against the All Blacks and in back-to-back weeks, the bench again, fronts up, the bench is fantastic again, experienced players coming through again. I thought it was fantastic. I thought all the senior players were brilliant. I mean, our bench again, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And I look at that, our lineup probably didn't function as well as we wanted to, and it's probably maybe it's becoming a little bit of a problem this year. Our lineup hasn't been where we want it to be, but but again, Sharky, when the clutch moment has to happen, it's Peter Steph who gets up there and makes the key steal with a great line out. That just shows how well the senior players have sort of stepped up when they've needed to step up. So that's been fantastic. That was fantastic to see, and I mean it was an incredible test match, and you sort of like the Springboks' ability to bend but not break is something that you could actually write a book about, because that is such a theory for them where you go back to the World Cup, when you go back to the France, England, All Blacks game where we bent and just did not break. And I think this year we sort of slightly went away from that, obviously the different game plan. And whereas like the All Blacks sort of again this weekend, I mean, I genuinely, to be honest with you, Sharky, I did not see that All Blacks performance coming back-to-back weeks. I did think that we would score about 18 to 20 points, but I thought it'd be like a 21-6 or 21-5 something like that. But I did not see that All Blacks performance, sort of that bounce back sort of coming after last week. And I thought maybe last week they sort of used their chance to win in South Africa, and so this weekend we wrestled back even more sort of control. But the All Blacks, I thought, were fantastic for 60 minutes, but then again we just refused to break. And yeah, I thought we were brilliant. But Sharky, I think our bench is, we speak about the bomb squad, we've spoken about it for the longest time, and this week we went back to a 5-3. Like in your opinion, how does the bench keep churning out these big performances in key moments? Because that's probably been the difference in these two tests.
Yeah, very much so. And it's so weird that there's so many fans, like Springbok fans, that don't realize the enormity of a whole full Springbok squad and then the match day 23. We saw quite clearly that Grant Williams played a different way that he usually plays, because he started at 9, and that's just the game plan. It's the nature of the beast. But the bench, I think Sumo Stevenson last week, he put something out and kind of speaking about how the All Blacks need to lean into what the Springboks are doing, and how Rassie Erasmus has given the bench an identity, and a name, the bomb squad. I don't know who came up with it, but it's stuck and it's become a thing, and everyone talks about it. And Sumo spoke about how that these guys know that they're part of something really big, and that when they come on, it matters and it's important. It's not a case of, you're second best and then you're replacing, the best. The All Blacks back in the day had a thing called soldier in, soldier out, same vibe, and that's the thing. I think the squad has, and the environment that has been created in the Springboks by not just Rassie, but Rassie and Jacques and Sia, and like someone like Kenan Moody who's like a youngster. Sasha is just involved in it now. The vibe in the group is huge. The guys are joking and laughing. They're all pulling for each other. Like if Sia Khaleesi is dropped to the bench for whatever reason, he is all behind Marco van Staden and supporting him all the way, because everyone wants everyone to do the best. They believe that it's like aggregation of marginal gains. Like the little things that everyone does makes the bigger picture big. So yeah, add the winning environments and probably the most sought after rugby environments in the world, add that into the mix. Everyone wants to be involved.
No, 100%. I think, and also like the experience now that our bench is sort of being able to rack up, having the likes of the Quacker Smiths and guys like that there, Marco Marks. It's made a massive difference. And, with the All Blacks, I think that's sort of been the big difference. I mean, their bench is not giving them the impact they've wanted it, and they almost went. They even tried to go the experience route this time by having a Bowden Barrett or Antonino Brown on the bench to come on and sort of guide them at the end, and sort of, but still, it still wasn't enough in those key moments where the Springboks just basically just wrestled back control at about the 65th minute, and then the game sort of and won the game from there. Because even the stats, Sharky, they tell that story. Because if you look at the stats, even possession overall, 54% to the Springboks, 46 to the All Blacks. But in the second half, the Boks had 58% possession, and the territory overall was 52% to the Springboks and 48% to All Blacks. But in the second half, it was 57% to the Springboks. So 57% of the game was played in the All Blacks half in the second half. So all the rugby was played down there, and it just shows how the Springboks have just found ways, and they know how to close out rugby games. And it doesn't matter, and there's different ways in doing it, but I just love the fact that Shaku with the box now and looking at the territory, looking at the possession is when push comes to shove. Yes, we got this fantastic new game plan, Tony Brown, but we still know how to squeeze the life out of teams, especially in the end.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier about like our scramble defense. The All Blacks, I think, beat 35 or 37 defenders.
37.
37. I don't think they had too many line breaks or clean breaks, but
Only 4.
Only 4. But they didn't score a try. Like, I think in the almost feels in the professional era, the only teams to have kept them tryless are Ireland and us. But that's the thing. Like and Jacques came out a while ago, talking about it, saying tackle completion percentage doesn't matter to him. He says he worries about the points on the board. He says you can make 100, everyone can make 100% of the tackles, but you can still lose like 20-19, so whatever. It's hard for us as fans. Like, it's something that we want to look at. I especially like to look at it from 1 to 12 because I think, barring the wings, barring the back three, I think it really, it doesn't really matter too much, especially in our current situation. But we strangled them. We have forced Razor into making some really, really big calls. Fletcher Newell, if I'm not mistaken, I think only came on with a couple minutes to play. Tyrell Lomax.
After the yellow card, he sort of came back on.
Yeah.
You basically had to come on.
Yes, he had to. So they would have pushed Cody Taylor the whole way. They would have pushed Tyrell Lomax the whole way if they could. Like that's where the problem lies because they're really struggling there. There's a problem there. Like they made changes. They pulled Will Jordan after 60 minutes. They pulled Mark Telea after 50 minutes. In what world do you not want Mark Telea on the field the whole time? Like, before this game, there's no world. I also very firmly believe that he played on the wrong wing. He's a right winger, and I feel that's his best space. But like, we got guys that were being forced to be pulled very early, and we've pushed them into a very uncomfortable space. Like, when would they have arrived home? Yesterday, today, and imagine the shitstorm they're walking into because there are questions like, is Damien McKenzie the right flyer for them? Because there's been questions about him and how he's been playing. He's been put under pressure. Seemed to perform quite well in the first test, second test, not so much. Now everyone wants his head. Will Jordan's probably not a 15 right now. They're big questions and they're under a lot of pressure.
No, definitely. I think if you raise in the All Blacks camp at the moment, I think there's more questions than there are answers. I mean, to quickly touch on the All Blacks before we've got individual players. Shocky, I genuinely think that when they go to South Africa, they just forget how to play rugby in the last 20 minutes.
I'm so sorry. Did Sam Derry not play?
No, he didn't come on.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Just sorry to interrupt you, but that totally goes back to my last point about how much pressure we put them under. Like, how are you not using all your bench? Oh, not in this rugby world.
Well, the interesting part about that is, Shocky, I think that's where the All Blacks are. We're talking about the bench. I mean, Sam Derry came on last week again at Ellis Park and probably made 2 mistakes that cost him the game. But it's mistakes through inexperience, almost similar to a BJ Dixon. But BJ Dixon's mistakes sort of happened early enough in the game when the Boks could sort of still find a way to get back in the game. Where Sam Derry, it's where he got stripped by Evan Esabeth, and then obviously for Grant Williams-Stride being the pillar defender, sort of being beaten by the dummy. But just sit there and to go, Amua only came on because Cody Taylor at HIA. Sam Derry didn't come on. Fletcher Newell only came on because
Lomax. 3 of your tight 5.
That's
3 of your tight 5.
3 of your tight 5 didn't go on. So the question is now is it a situation of, because I mean I've spoken about Amua and I haven't been convinced. It's the throwing that's the issue, and I think he missed one line out, and you sort of go, was Razor, they probably were like, we can't trust this guy to come on and close the game out. And to be fair to Cody Taylor, I thought these 2 tests against Springboks is the best I've seen him play in a very long time. I thought he was fantastic again on the weekend. But you know what, Sharky, the interesting thing with the All Blacks is, I don't know if you agree on this, like, I know the All Blacks talk about their aura, and they talk about, obviously, like, All Black fans. And I've been looking up at the radio stations, and what they're saying is, obviously, for them, you can't talk to them about a future plan. The All Blacks want to win now and want to dominate now, but and they worry about losing their aura. But the funny thing with the All Blacks is, like, there's so many positives that can leave out of this tour. There's certain things that can leave you and be like, there's a few positives, but I think, like, it's 40 minutes of rugby, Sharky, that's cost them 2 wins. 20 minutes in that first test, 20 in the end of the first test, and 20 minutes at the end of the second test. Like, Sharky, what do you think it is that they can't close out test matches? And the funny thing is, that's how they beat England, by being able to close out games at home. But now, here in South Africa, they couldn't close out 2 tests, and where they could have easily left you winning both.
For me, quite simply, it's around the experience, and it's around the change in what's happening with the new coaching staff as a whole. They didn't close it out against Argentina. And the third thing that I want to say is, because of not closing it out against Argentina, because struggling twice against England, and playing the Springboks, who now have a different aura around them, it's also that doubt. Because the All Blacks never had doubts in the past. Like, France didn't have doubts in the World Cup. Ireland didn't have doubts in the World Cup. Like, when you have doubt, like, it festers and it really gets to you. You kind of look at all the things that the 50-50s that don't go for you, and you're like, oh, like, it's not my game. It doesn't really matter. Like, we shouldn't be here performing against such a world-class side that, these things are not going away. So yeah, whatever. So it's a combo of those 3 things. I think it's doubt, inexperience, and the new coaching setup. All those things coming together with, this group and playing the Springboks is kind of got them.
Yeah, it does feel like there's a bit of an element of doubt. I think, on Saturday, I think in about the 70th minute, just for the yellow card, you almost started getting a sense from the All Black side of here we go again. Because, in that first test, it kind of looked like, in football terms, they parked the bus early. They sort of stopped playing rugby at Ellis Park, and then sort of they went from being so positive, I mean, besides going for the corner one time, but then they almost tried to, stop playing rugby and just try to protect the lead, and then Springboks sort of just hunted them down. But Sharky, also ill-disciplined. That's 2 tests in a row they've lost a player in the last 10 minutes for a yellow card. So, yeah. I mean, it's all those things. I mean, and the penalty counts, again, we saw last week how high that penalty count was. And, if it's happened 2 tests in a row, it can't just be the referees. But so, if I'm the All Blacks, it's like these things are like, they're concerning for them, because, yes, I agree with you, Shark. Experience does play a massive factor. I mean, we said last week, I mean, that 3 of the 3 guys on the bench are under 5 caps last week. And this week, I mean, they try to negate that by putting at least about over 200 test caps, or close to 300 test caps if you're adding TJ Perenara's, Angelina Brown, and Boden Barrett's caps from the bench. So to try and negate that. But I with the All Blacks, to me, Sharkies, I don't know what their game plan is or what they're trying to do. That's what concerns me about them. Is like, you watch them, like, I don't know what style of rugby they are trying to play. It just feels like sometimes they're caught in between 2 game plans of like they wanna kick more, but they don't have that. Like, you wanna kick more, but then you start McKenzie and Jordan at 10 and 15. So, and then you leave your best kicker on the bench. I don't think Jordie Barrett kicks enough as well. So, or do you want to throw it out wide and sort of run and play at high tempo, which they tried to do, but the Springboks scrambled really, really well. And I mean, obviously for me, this will be the test match for Bok fans, where Jerry Flannery is sort of like, this was his test match where he sort of made his mark to Bok fans, was this weekend's one. But with the All Blacks, it's like, for as many positives they have, again, you ask yourself, like, Sharky, like, I genuinely don't know what is their plan, because the changes they made this weekend were so drastic in terms of it's gone away from what they've done. And then also like, we all said we felt like they've got the best sort of 4 props that can match Springboks, barring 2 scrums. The first 2, they scrummed well for 2 test matches, both they subs and they starters. So, Sharky, like, I didn't know when Razor's answer questions, you also like, I don't know what they're trying to do. And this is now they've got the Wallabies now. Who knows what Wallabies side they're gonna get? But like they still gotta go play England, Ireland, and France away from home, and I can't see them beating. Oh, depends who's gonna be coaching England by then. But France and Ireland playing like this, I can't see them winning a game playing like this in Ireland or in France.
Imagine they lose the first test to Australia, and then like the Bledisloe Cup probably goes on the line then. Like we are, and I think I've mentioned it a couple, like 5 or 10 episodes ago, is that that Razor really is under pressure this whole year. There's no ways that he loses once to Australia and then loses Ireland and France, maybe England, and he's not, he's not read the right act. He's under big pressure. And Jamie mentioned, like going back to the scrums, Jamie mentioned that the place that they're going to be targeting us is at scrum time, but they just don't have the bodies to manage it for a whole game, because there's probably one scrum that wasn't given a penalty that we thought maybe should have been a penalty. Other than that, everything else seems to be fine. Like they had the upper hand and we had the upper hand, and that's where it was. The other thing which Jamie mentioned was how they're lacking proper carriers and how Wallace Atiti was going to change that for him. And my word, did he? On the All Blacks top performers, Tupovar and Wallace Atiti were streets ahead of everyone else. But they're lacking something. And for me, it's about having a proper big like carriers up front, and then having a big carrying 8 and possibly moving Ardie to the side. Like Ardie's not what you would call the regular run-of-the-mill All Black 8. He's flipping exciting and is there because he's flipping talented, but do you not think they should move him to the side and maybe put someone else at 8? I don't know. They're probably going to have to bulk up somewhere else. They're just under pressure. And as you say, like the substitutes they made were forced. They were being dictated to. They didn't have a proper game plan. They had little parts that they wanted to get things done. They changed everything up totally for the second test, and it didn't work for them. Like they're scrambling big time. They were forced into subs that 2 of them they probably didn't want to make. They didn't put Derry on. Like that's wild. It's a lot. There's questions at 10. I think Cortez Ratama, like they need him back flipping 2 weeks ago. Not Cortez Ratama, Cam Roygaard. They need him back. I'm not saying that Ratama or TJ Perenara had a bad game. I just think they need a little bit more help somewhere, but I'm kind of clutching here.
No, I just think, before, I think going into this year, I think with the All Blacks, the first thing we said was they do have a lock crisis, and even if they are all fully fit, because you got Scott Barrett, and then I think Tupovar has been fantastic these 2 games in South Africa. I think this has been his sort of tour. He's probably made that number 5 jersey his own now. I think obviously Ethan Blackett was fantastic as well, but Wallace Atiti, my goodness, I thought in those 56 minutes where he was on, I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I thought, man, this guy's having an absolute storm. And yes, he slipped a few tackles, but I thought he kept fronting up, kept coming on the corner. I was like, this is the sort of crunch you need. And also, Sharky, I do agree that I do think the All Blacks need to move Ardie to 7, because I don't think that Sam Cane and Sam Cane's basically retiring from international rugby in the year. I don't know if Dalton's the answer. Whereas I'd rather you can get an Ethan Blackett in at 6 and you move Wallace Atiti to 8. I think that's such a well-balanced trio. But then the problem for me, Sharky, is I just think, you get the Cam Roygaards and then you get the TJ Perenaras and the Cortez Ratama. They're exciting, but I do think the All Blacks in the 9 department they're struggling there. If you're comparing it to the Springboks and you're comparing it to, for example, like TJ Perenara does not get into the top 4 sides. I don't think you'll get in ahead of Grant Williams at the moment, the Springbok side, or get in ahead of a Jefferson Gibson Park, or gets in, as much as I love TJ to bits, but 10 is an issue for the All Blacks at the moment. It's, again, 15 looks like an issue because Barrett's being off the bench. Jordy Barrett is at 12, he's not had the best of year, Rico at 13. So there's just so many questions in that side where, and I think with Ray's also, Sharky, I don't think he knows his best side.
Yes.
That's the worst part, because I don't think he knows his best side. And also, he's basically his leg to stand on is obviously the win against an inexperienced England side where they'll push the limits for those 2 weeks. I mean, I think I think a first team rugby side would have been Argentina after the week after they won in Wellington, because everyone knows Argentina doesn't do. They were never going to win the game in Eden Park after Wellington. They were never going to win that game. So that's basically that was basically a bye. But like after that, it's not much for Reyes to hang his hat on. So it is definitely going to be interesting times. But Sharky, I want to chat a few stand-up performances from the weekend. We know David Delaney was named man of the match, but I mean, Sharky, as a centre yourself, Dukes was special on the weekend. I thought that was probably his game of the year.
Yes, it was. He was good, and it's just he just doesn't get the love that he should. And ironically, he was good, but I've seen him play better. Like, well, let me rephrase that. I think he made a couple of errors. For me, it almost looked like Colby and Khaleesi were the only two that didn't really make any errors on Saturday, which is quite crazy. But I'm so glad for Damien to kind of get that, especially in Cape Town. Like, it's massive, like on his home ground. Like, it's really, really huge. And he is so good. I think people are slowly but surely coming to terms with the fact that he's just really one of the best 12s in the world. I still see people trying to like drop him. Like, everyone is always big on, like, whenever you ask people what changes they're going to make, they almost always start at 12. It is so bizarre. 12 or 13. It's quite a strange space. So he was good. He was saving our ass in places that we desperately needed it. And his carries almost always seem to yield meters, almost the same as Visser. Visser, I don't think he doesn't make meters when he carries. Like, and the same with Damon. He's the platform setter that we need. He's the kind of guy that almost I honestly think that he would walk into, probably out of the tier 1 nations, he'd probably walk into all of them bar one. Like, it's crazy. So great game. I'm so happy for him. I really am.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I thought Dukes was fantastic, and I thought you got that balance right between carrying and passing. I mean, him having made 9 carries, 10 passes, 6 tackles, a turnover, 2 defenders beaten. I mean, 56 meters. I mean, he was absolutely immense on the weekend. I thought, again, stamped his approval. I think he's sort of the perfect player for the way the Springboks want to play now, because of his great distributed. Great. I mean, we've always said for the longest time, the guys in Cape Town have always said that Damien Lee's got the best pass in South Africa, but obviously the way he was asked to play, we never saw it. And now we're sort of seeing the best of it. And I thought he was fantastic and deserving to be man of the match. But Chucky, obviously,
on his pass, like, I know a lot of people don't see it, but there's a moment in the game when he picks up the ball in the backfield and he passes it to Pollard, who clears. Like, you can see just by the way he passes and how the trajectory of the ball that he really does have a good pass. Like, he's got a very accurate, flat bullet pass. And yeah, sorry, I just needed to say that.
No, 100%. But what did you think of, Willie and 100? Obviously, those the big changes made for the weekend and getting 100 back and Willie back, and obviously on Twitter people. I mean, I thought 100. I thought 100 a good game. I love the way that he controlled the game. Obviously, like, it was never gonna. I think sometimes people like to they almost want Sasha and 100 to play the exact same way, but it's never going to be the case. I won't be surprised going forward. It's going to be a horses for courses sort of situation where there will be games that 100 starts, there'll be games that Sasha starts. But and I do like the fact that if you do play 100, if Willie le Roux sort of always plays with him, how do you think those two played on the weekend?
Yeah, I actually I didn't recall like 100 really making any glaring errors. Like, not saying that I'm used to him making them. It's just he was just there doing his thing, which was fine. Billy got another whole whack of stick this weekend. But just to kind of put things in perspective, Willie le Roux put more passes than any other backline player, barring the 9s.
Yeah.
So he passed more than Pollard. Like, I'm very interested in the fact that they're always playing together. So that's the interesting space for me. Like, does Willie only ever play when Pollard's on, and vice versa? That's the interesting space for me, because Damien Willems is still going to come back. He's played with Pollard a little bit. I'd like to see Fussy a little bit with Pollard and with a good experienced backline. it's just a little bit more of that. So yeah, I have no problem with Willie le Roux. He's probably the only other person that gets. I think it's him, Pollard, and Damien Delaney, and then Creel. Well, it's almost a whole back line, but anyway, like they get all the heat. But Willie, I mean, he did his thing. Like that's his game. His game is almost to be a 10 from 15. And he was coming in doing a lot of stuff, like a couple of places. Like I said earlier, I think it was only Khaleesi and Colby that really didn't make an error on Saturday. Maybe even just Colby, because I remember Khaleesi missed a tackle here and there. Like maybe it was just Colby who didn't make an error. So yeah, quite handy. I quite like it. I have no problem with Pollard and le Roux being in the squad. It's just I'm super interested to see how things unfold moving forward when we start getting guys back to fitness.
No, 100%. I think so as well. I mean, I agree with you. I thought, I like where we are at the moment, sort of our back with our depth in the back line, which is why I was very thrilled to see us go 5-3. I think we have good enough backs to sort of play to play five forwards and three backs, and the forwards. I mean, guys like Peter Steph can sort of cover multiple positions. I mean, you look at the likes of. Because I mean, you look at someone like Ron Nokia. You look at Ron Nokia. I thought also was fantastic. 16 tackles in the week on Saturday. We got through a bunch of work. But Ron Nokia, if he comes over, Peter can shift into lock. Eric Lock can play multiple positions. But we have enough depth in the back so we can throw a fussy on the bench if needs be. Because I do think sometimes, like in the 6-2 split, we do miss out on a back. Sometimes a back is not having a good game or just not at the races that day. And the forwards, Rassie loves saying, for example, like if it feels like you're not winning your battle stats, they pull you off to get someone fresh on. And I think the weekend that did help where, sort of Hyundai ran his race. He's like, okay, cool, like, now it's time for Sasha. And also, Shark was great to see Sasha coming on in a different type of situation as opposed to last week where he had to come on and close the game out, which I enjoyed. Him and Jaden Hendricks, him and Jaden Hendricks, what I thought also did well, what they're also great in coming off the bench in that situation is you need the calm head of a Jaden Hendricks as a different role for him and seeing Grant start. But I do like seeing that. I mean, you look at probably may not had as much ball as he wanted, but he still made massive plays coming off the bench. I mean, that kickoff he won in the air after the Springboks last try. I mean, that was fantastic. It just shows the class of him. But yeah, I just thought you were great. And also, Sharky, to touch on other performances quickly before we go to the All Blacks performances. I thought that was Siya Kolisi's best test for a while. I thought he was fantastic on the weekend. I thought he was, and to do that with a broken cheekbone was incredible.
Yeah, I love that it's almost every like 3 or 4 games we are saying this is the best he's played. This is the best he's played. We said it last year in the World Cup and leading up to it. I love it. I love it. I have a little bit of a hot take. I know we went 5-3. I really do feel that the 5-3, especially for Jaden Lukhanyo was to make sure that they get some game time before they go to Argentina. Perhaps Sasha too. I don't know, but there's that. Just quick little something. On 45 minutes, Lukhanyo came on, and that moved Jesse to the wing. On 49 minutes, New Zealand brought Leonard Brown on, which moved Rico Ioane to wing straight up against Jesse again. Sorry, that was just something I absolutely loved. Wrapped him up every time again. So yeah, it was good. I thought Jaden, when he came on, was just really going through the motions. I was really like, it was so good to see. And then he put a little kick ahead for Chesney. But yeah, we went 5-3, which surprised me. But perhaps Pollard, le Roux, Jaden, Lukhanyo were all just getting some game time and stuff ready to travel. You never know. Maybe Pollard and le Roux travel. So yeah, we've got options all over the show. Khaleesi was great. Ches and Colby was outstanding. He's probably, I think him and Kirtley Arendse are probably the only players in the world that can perform how they normally perform, but on opposite wings. Like Colby was just incredible. He's just getting better. And when they asked him about like did he pick on Scott Barrett? Like, did he focus on Scott Barrett to bounce him? And he was just kind of like, no, I just want to change my game. he's the kind of guy that's absolutely loving his rugby. He's the kind of guy that also seems to be, well, not seems to be, he's like focused on everything, knowing that his career's in the sort of twilight years, and he wants to make sure that he's selected because he's constantly doing better. So yeah, I was super happy with him and watching him play. Pieter-Steph just doing his thing, man. He's ridiculous, and we needed him until the 80th minute.
No, 100%. I mean, Pieter-Steph that was probably the quieter of the Pieter-Steph game, but he was still fantastic again.
Still dominated.
Still dominating again. But I mean, I think before I wrap up the game, I want to also send a massive shout out to Willie le Roux. He's been fantastic in both games off the bench. Him and Jasper, I thought, or the perfect sort of 1-2 punch for the box. Sort of, Jasper coming back from suspension, and then to have Willie le Roux on the bench. I thought he was great both games. I think he's sort of this year is probably making a case for him to be involved in box sides going forward. I mean, in whatever capacity. So, yeah, it was really, really nice to see. Really nice to see Willie le Roux doing well. But Sharky, I think you've wrapped up the game nicely. I think Sharky, you wanted to, before we go to before I got a few questions for you that I didn't prep you for. So before you go into that, you said you wanted to speak about something about the referees and the way these things are going down, because that has been an interesting case, especially over the last 2 games.
Yeah. So I rewatched the Handré Pollard Mark Tellier situation like quite a lot. There is really milliseconds in it, but Handré Pollard definitely jumps into the tackle. So there's that. The other thing was something happened, and the water guys came on and kept telling Scott Barrett there was a late tackle, and then they chatted to the ref, and the ref told them basically to bugger off. It's not their space, and they will not check something. So Mackenzie was hit by Eben. I don't know if he was hit late or if he was hit high. I don't know what they were asking for. And the other was Ches and Colby down the wing, and Cortez Ratama tackled him. Those 3 specific situations, perhaps not the Eben one and Mackenzie, that could have been checked in the background, but those other ones definitely deserved another look at. Like, honestly, if Pollard is pinged for jumping into the tackle, that's a yellow card because he makes contact with Talia's head. It could possibly be a red, but I don't think so. I think Cortez Ratama could have been carded for that tackle on Cheslin. And it all comes down to the mandate that the officials have to speed up the game. And like, we're always going to get to the bad. We're always going to get bad of things first before we get to like the middle ground. So initially everyone was taking too long, and it's like, everyone's like, no, this is taking too long. Now World Rugby like speed it up. And we need to find the middle ground, because I don't agree with those things happening. I don't believe it's what it should. I don't think that's how rugby should be. We know we do want more of the right calls than the wrong calls. And if it takes a little bit longer to get the right call, then there's no problem. Like, I don't see how the officials could have not looked at the Pollard Tellier situation for one or other of the reasons. Like, did they want to look at Tellier taking out a jumper, or did they want to look at Pollard jumping into it? Like, that's grounds for looking at it on its own. So yeah, I just wasn't happy with that. The other thing I do want to say, Kooks, and it's not a dig at Canon Moody. I know that he didn't have a great game, but a lot of guys have been on Makazula Mapimpi's back. We really missed Mapimpi this weekend. Like, to have Mapimpi on the left wing and Colby on the right wing would have helped us. It's great that we won. And I have no problem with Moody being there, because I understand why he's there. And he also got some game time. He's definitely going to be part of the squad moving forward. But he had a bit of a poor one, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think the Moody one's also. I think Moody's in the case of his first Test match back since last year, so that's why I think I agree with you. The game plan was good, and I think obviously I would love to see him and Mapimpi be the wings in Argentina. I think Moody needs those 2 tests to sort of get back into the swing of things. I mean, I feel the same with Will Jordan at the moment. I just feel like he seems rusty after not playing rugby. Pretty much, he's played no rugby besides Test matches in 7 months, so 8 months pretty much. But Sharky, I totally agree with you with the thing about the referees and speeding the game up, because my issue is I'd rather get calls right and the game gets sped up. There's 2 games now where there's certain situations where it does feel like the game needs to stop and goes upstairs. I wasn't on the pod for the first test, but I mean, the first test, I think I was sitting in the stands at Loftus having a beer, and I think I did as much work as the TMO did in Ellis Park. And then
Yeah.
you know, you look at the Pollard incident, because again, like where it happened, Sharky, because if you're looking at from him being tackled in the air sort of perspective, or whether you're looking for Pollard jumping there, it's a key moment in that game, because one, if Pollard got taken in the air, it could be a potential card, and the box can go for points. Two, if it's the other way around, Pollard could get a card, because obviously you can't jump into tackles. It's a rule they've made, and it's frustrating to me. Like, I understand that it's this whole, like, you know, speed the game. Because I mean, what? Because Ian Foster complained about it after he lost the World Cup final. Like, everyone's trying to speed the game up, but like, it's just like, rather get calls right. I'm happy. Like, I just feel like, Sharky, I just feel like in rugby at the moment, there's no common sense. And this
Yeah.
is driving me crazy. There's just like
Yeah.
no common sense. So it's like, guys, certain things just need to be checked. Just has to be checked on. Like, we're playing for a trophy here. Like,
Yeah.
just check. Like, just take 2 minutes to check, and surely, like, we can see. Okay, cool. It's a key moment in the game. You can't just be like, well, it looks 50-50. You know what? Let's just play on.
Yeah.
And you're like,
You know,
okay,
we've seen lots of times where the TMOs come in, and almost every time the TMO came in, there normally would have been a penalty or card. But then we saw towards, after like a year or two, whatever, we saw that started changing, where referees were like, cool, I don't see anything in this, let's play on. The other thing is, I have no problem with the TMO and the referee communicating while a game is playing, but I think it's important that the fans hear it. So was that stuff checked, and was it cleared for whatever reason? I think it's important that the fans get to hear and understand that. But I don't agree with the way they're handling it right now.
Because the thing is, like, I mean, I do also feel bad for referees, right? Because I mean, I feel like they've been sort of thrown under the bus now because of the EU mandate, and there's no one in World Rugby sort of stepping up and being like, okay, guys, like, because if a referee has a bad game, or World Rugby does, it goes, yeah, they got it wrong, so they're off next weekend. So I do feel bad for the referees, because they're not hiding to nothing at the moment. But yeah, I
that's
agree
a
with you.
TMO call.
Yeah,
all
I
those
mean,
are TMO calls.
I mean, TMOs as well. So, but TMOs as well. So, but I think, like, something's got to change, right? And I do think, for example, like, like, let's talk about common sense. Like, I understand the law and it has changed, but that, for example, the Willie le Roux yellow card, like, there has to be a bit of common sense where you go, like, the ball didn't go forwards.
It did.
Like
it's a yellow.
But I just can't. Like, but my thing is, like, there has to be, like, for example, like, there has to be a different way to be like, that is a deliberate charge down to, as that is an attempt. Like, you know, if you're reaching out to make a play there, for example, like, there are times like, I thought Willie made an attempt to catch the ball there, and
he did, but he had no control of it afterwards, and that's where the issue lies.
But when he's turning, he's trying to turn and get back. Like, he did well enough to get the ball in the air, for example, to stay up as well. But then obviously it's going through. But my thing is, Shock, if you say to me, if that's just a penalty, I agree with you. But I'm like, guys, like, if he's what, it's like a few centimeters short from regathering it.
But so the ball landed like 3 meters away from him, so he wasn't in. He hit it. The problem is not with him making a general play. The thing is he knocked it and was not able to collect it. He wasn't even close to collecting it. Before the ball even landed on the ground, he was looking at the referee. Like, there's that.
I think with that law, for example, is what is the answer? So you just players
they've got it right.
Do you not go for? Because I think, because my thing is sometimes, like, you see it in real time. Because I genuinely thought he'd made a great attempt getting the ball. You're like, oh, Jesus, unlucky. Because the ref in real time first said scrum, said, oh, it's a knock on, and then obviously, then he went upstairs, and then it became a card. So my thing is, for example, if it's like, if the referee in real time almost sees it as an attempt to play the ball, like, especially in real, because the thing is, obviously, if it goes to slow motion, then obviously it does. But my saying, for example, if they're going to be that, because there's certain laws, for example, like with this new, like with that law, where they got very strict protocols and they're not to blow it, but then there's certain things they don't look at and don't call. Like, that's what also frustrates me.
Yeah,
things that are more important than.
So this is my thing. I really do feel that they've got the law right in this case. There were so many times players were hitting the ball down, and now they're like, cool, this is no longer a knock on, it'll be a penalty. And then everyone was talking about hands up. So players started just hitting the ball up. and trying to avoid being penalized because they were, in inverted commas, hitting the ball up. And then World Rugby came and said, like, you need to realistically be able within a chance of catching it. We've seen guys hit the ball up and almost dive to catch it, and the refs were like, you know what, you actually had a chance. It's just a knock-on. But the other thing that's really important is that we need to understand is that was a 2-1-1, and what Willie did stopped a line break. And the laws like favoring the attacking side there, and I'm all for it, because by Willie being there, he's faked out of the tackle and he's gone for the intercept. And I don't believe that he's intentionally knocked it down. I really do believe he's gone for the intercept, but he got it wrong. And he stopped a line break there. And you stop a line break, like it's like they said straight up, like if you stop a line break, it's a yellow card because that's an illegal action. And the other thing further on from that is if you stop a line break and there's a potential for a try, it'll be a yellow card and a penalty try. So I really, really do feel that the ref and the officials have got that right. And I think the angle of on the TV, I don't think the TV was directly behind it, so people like it didn't go forward. But there's no ways on earth that ball hits his hand and doesn't go forward. Like, it has to have gone forward. Like, it's just physics. So yeah, on all of that, like, the thing is straight afterwards, Willie immediately turns around to the referee and he's like, oh no, I was hitting it up. It's not about hitting it up. Like, he made a call there. Like, he knew if he went to tackle that guy, the pass would have gone. So it would have been a line break. He knew that he couldn't go and tackle the other guy because of the positioning he was in. So he's gone for the intercept. So it's an attacking play. It's also a save your ass play. And it's a defensive play too. I just think they got it right.
I just think, no, I mean, I'm definitely not saying you're not wrong. I think I do agree with you. I just think my only issue with that rule is sometimes, like, with referees, you can tell when a guy is deliberately knocking it down and a guy is trying to catch it. I feel like you can see the difference. And like Willie's one is like, I'm happy to give a penalty because the party goes like, he has a chance to catch the ball. What I'm saying is like, you can see it. No,
he doesn't. He doesn't.
What I'm saying is like, you can see it. It's like, okay, cool. But you can see when a guy's like, okay, that is a deliberate knockdown. There's no ways he is making a play to catch a ball. Like I'm saying, like you can see the difference.
So he did make a play to catch it, but he was not in a realistic position to catch it. After it hit his hand, it didn't come anywhere. It didn't land anywhere close to him. That ball almost went into row 3.
No, but what I'm saying is in other situations with that law is like, for example, like the yellow card is, for example, it's referred the same way. Is if I do a deliberate slap, it's the exact same punishment. Where I'm like, well, that is where it's a proper. You didn't try to catch this rugby ball. There's no situation that you tried to catch the ball. Like if you're rapping, like, but then that's given a yellow card. The same. Does that now? If that situation happens where you see like this guy did not at all try, so does that become a red card?
No,
if the yellow card is bought, like
I think it's the right call. I totally hear you. The thing is I know that Willie le Roux's intentions were positive, as opposed to a player knocking down, which is a negative intention. I really do believe Willie le Roux was positive, but I still think it's the same sanction. I'll tell you why. Is remember how many times when players were yellow carded for dangerous clear outs at the ruck because there was already a guy over the ball. And everyone's like, but how am I supposed to clear the play out? Well, you were in a bad position, or the other team got there faster, and therefore you lost your position. Like, you lost your good position. Like, that's also the way I look at it. Like, Willie le Roux wasn't in the best place to intercept it. Otherwise, he would have. He was not in a great place to intercept it. And once it was knocked forward or knocked on or touched his hand and moved forward, and he didn't regather it, like, that's just the way it is. It's the same as keeping your eyes on the ball while you're running towards it and taking a play out in the air. And you keep saying, oh, but referee, I was looking at the ball. My intentions were positive. But you still, did an illegal action. So but I can't agree with you, Kooks.
No, I hear you. But I just think, like, for example, if you're going to have, for example, like 95 different cards, like, then surely there's certain ones where, for example, like, if a guy, ref can see, you can judge, this was never, ever going for the catch, then maybe that could be a 20-minute red card. I think it's like in a very situation.
Don't you dare.
What I'm saying is they're the ones that come up with all these 99 different cards. So, but I mean, we could argue this all night, but, but the Springboks do move up. They stay at the top of the Rugby Championship. But
do you think we could have dropped to 3rd?
We could have dropped to 3rd. I mean, well, to be fair, I mean, What I do love the moment is the Bledisloe Cup game is basically becoming a battle for the wooden spoon. So the Springboks are sitting at 16, 18 points after 4 games. Argentina on 10 points, and then the All Blacks on 7 and Australia on 4. And talking about the Wallabies, what on earth happened in that game on the weekend? I mean, I think a lot of South Africans woke up from the hangover on Sunday morning, thinking they're going to catch up on some test match footy between Argentina and Australia. What on earth happened, Jacques? I mean, 67-27 to Argentina, and at a stage, Australia was winning 23 or 20-0 at a stage. What?
It's ridiculous. Like, that's... Oh, they gave up. Like, when stuff's not going your way and you kind of doubt things a little bit and then it doesn't go your way and you're kind of like, oh, well, I'm just kind of going to ride this out and just take the loss. And that's how the Wallabies kind of were in that second half. I think they were shell shocked. When did that try came? In the 47th minute. So like this all happened in 33 minutes. After the 47th minute, and then the next try only came 9 minutes later, and then like they crumbled. It's like they had the lead and they were really trusting things, and then they lost the lead and they were like, oh, this is going to shit. And on the other side of the coin, the Argentinians were like, okay, cool, we fought back from 23 down and we've got a chance. Like, let's carry on pushing. And like they just pushed too far and Australia just gave them everything. It was, wow, it's ridiculous. Like we all said, like there should be one game a year that you don't have to review as a team. You kind of just pitch up a training on Monday and you just forget about that game altogether. Kooks, I think you came up with that. I think this is comfortably the Wallabies one.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, just if you're Joe Schmidt, just pretty much remove everything that's happened in that first half, I mean, in that second half. I mean, it is surreal to go. I mean, what, 40, something like 50 points conceded in the second half or 47? I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, it's Joe Schmidt. I mean, obviously the job gets harder and harder. I mean, they won the game last week, and then again in Argentina. I mean, Felipe Contepone also. I've always said the Argentina job is probably like I'm glad like Contepone doesn't have hair, because I mean coaching Argentina is you have no hair. Like gray hairs wouldn't couldn't even work, because you'll be pulling your hair out trying to coach those dogs. But Australia, I mean, just it's a tough place to be in Argentina. But
the food's good. Food's good. Did you see the braai they were putting up?
Oh, no, I mean, obviously in Argentina, it's going to be...
It's my game. That's my game.
It's a big game. But Chalky, if you're Argentina, I mean, talking about Argentina, I mean, that's who we play next, and talking the big picture of the Rugby Championship. Argentina wins 2 test matches by a bonus point, and they win the Rugby Championship. So they still got their fate in their own hands. I mean, if you're Argentina, they must be kicking themselves having lost to the Wallabies last week. Because they basically, I mean, that in the greater scheme of things could come and haunt them, because they could have been 4 points behind the Springboks, and then it's still game on for the Rugby Championship.
Here's a question. What did Argentina learn from the weekend? Just the same as we can say, what if the Wallabies, like the Wallabies must just scratch it off, it was just a shit performance. What do Argentina learn from that? Like, that's the thing. How do you, like, I think both teams have to focus on the first half and how it worked out, like how Argentina fought their way back into it and kind of got within a couple points. But then maybe the first 50 minutes, but after that, like, how do you go to your team and say, listen, this is where we need to work on, when you've just put 50 points on them in like 35 minutes? So Argentina are kicking themselves.
Especially with Argentina's attack, for example. I think Argentina, for example, we've seen the very, very best of Argentina in that game against the All Blacks in that second half against Australia. But then, to be fair, that first game against Australia, that they felt like they were basically playing on the beach. I mean, that's how it was, horrendous conditions. But still, Argentina they've got to win that game at home. Like, they can't lose that game. And you're sitting in a situation where Argentina is probably sitting as the second best team in the competition and in a chance to win it. But Shaki, they're definitely kicking themselves, because now it's becomes a tall task for them to win the Rugby Championships. Basically, just 2 bonus point wins against the Spring. Well, I mean, technically, they got to win both. One of them is going to be by bonus point, and try to prevent the bottom getting a bonus point in 2 games.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I think probably the saddest part of it is it's home and away. It would have been incredible if both those games were here, for argument's sake, or both those games were there. That's quite big. There's that travel involved, and we are sitting in a very luxurious position where we get to send basically 25% of our first choice side up. We're sending 2 sides. Well, we're splitting the side up. So that's probably lined everything up. And everyone, all the Springboks are going to go there. The Springboks know that they've almost got 1 win against Argentina. The Springboks know that. And Argentina know they have to bust their ass to beat us twice. So that's also an interesting thing, is how they focus. And the emotions of the Argentinians are like the best and the worst thing about them, because they can crumble big time, just like they did in New Zealand. So it would be one hell of an end to the tournament if they win the opening test match with the bonus points. It would be ridiculous. So, yeah, but having said that, maybe things are changing for them. But it's hard when they win one game and then get put 60 on in the next.
Yeah, that is true. But I mean, yeah, it is going to be very, very interesting to see what they do. But that wraps up the talk about the Rugby Championship. And Sharky, now I'm gonna send a few highballs your way that I've not prepped you with. So let's see how you cope under the highball. Hopefully you're not Mark Talia and lose all your stock value in sort of in 2 weekends in South Africa, or maybe you're more of a Plele Fassi.
Bring it.
Yeah, first one, Sharky, just a few thoughts. Box Argentina obviously is our next game coming up to wrap up the Rugby Championship. Are you resting our top players to go against Argentina for that first game in Argentina, or are you sending our our second stringers up? If they're losing Argentina, get off our regular to sort of wrap up the competition in Bombela. What are you doing?
I'm definitely sending up to, like, say, 25% of our first choice players. So I'm sending experienced guys that need game time. Lucanio, Cannon Moody, I suppose he's not really that experienced, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I think Pieter-Steph du Toit, I'd really like to know what we do in the midfield, because I'd really like to give Kriel and Delendi a break, but I don't know how we're going to do that. I really wouldn't change the midfield, like put Moody in at 13. I think that would be a big one, but I'm going to go with like 25% of our first choices, guys that need game time, need to go. I wouldn't go completely green. Like, I wouldn't go Wales in whatever time when we gave like 8-10 guys debuts. So I wouldn't do that. I'd have a bit of a mix, like our B team mix. Our B team mix that has got like a couple of World Cup winners, but not our absolute out and out first choice.
I would, to be honest with you, Sharky, I think I'm on an island on myself here. I'm sending our first choice guys up because of the break we have now.
Yeah, okay.
Because of the break we have now, I'm sending the first team guys up, get the job done, win the tournament,
spend a week and have a braai in Argentina and come back later.
You can spend it with Argentina, or you know what? you don't have to report to training. I know it's maybe being the pessimist in me, but I do want us to wrap this thing up, and the guys do have this break now. But I'm sending the guys up there and just wrapping up the Rugby Championship. Now that it's done, don't have to worry about anything when we come back here in Nelspruit. Then those guys who sort of, the guys who sort of like, because I do think Argentina, it's not an easy game to go there, and I think it's a potential banana peel. And for example, I can see an Argentina getting a bonus point against us because they do have a really good attack, and they won't be shy to throw the ball around. And at home, tails are up. So I'm on the camp of I actually wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing our top players going in and then resting afterwards, especially now they're coming off a rest. So you're basically going week off, training and going, I need you to make one more effort for me. And then you can be off again the week after, and sort of obviously they sort of prep for end of year tour, because most of the guys obviously won't be playing in those early rounds of the URC anyway. So that's sort of the incentive. And also I think I do want to see the Oaks. So the guys, you guys have going to lift the trophy, but Rusty's made big changes in the Rugby Championship, so you never know what that guy does. But okay, the next question, Sharky. The Boks in 09 are sort of seen as what our best Boks side of all time. I think in general speak that people say that is our best Bok 9. I mean Bok 9, our best Bok side. Do you think this 2024 side is up there yet? If they win the Rugby Championship, or what do they still have to do? If not, what do they still have to do to sort of be talked about in the same breath as the 09 side?
If they do the Rugby Championship unbeaten, then maybe. So I don't remember the squads, like the squad around that. I do remember like the first choice guys, but I can't remember if we were deep enough in our squads to be capable of going longer, if you understand what I'm saying. That's why I think like this group now, because we've got such a bigger group, I'm going to go with this group. The 2024s are better than the 2009s. And it's not recency bias. It's I think as a team and as a group, what they have done and where they've come from has been more challenging. I think what they have done for the country and how they've done it has been more challenging. So I'd like to see them win the rest of, and I think this year is the year they're going to go really hard at it. But it would almost be not even a contest if we go unbeaten for the year. But I would have to say this group just because of what they're doing and who they had to beat, especially in the World Cup last year.
100%. I think this group I think they're second at the moment. I think obviously the big thing with 09 side, obviously having won the World Cup, and then the British and Irish tour and the Tri Nations, so they won being All Blacks 3 times. I think, Sharky, the big thing for this side is to sort of finish the job and do well in the year tour. I think one of the most forgotten tours is the Boks 09 tour in Europe. I think we won a game, but we've all after the Tri Nations, we stepped our season ended there. Like you'd think the 09 season ended instead of the Tri Nations and we didn't go on tour at all.
That's true. So I forgot about that.
So I think that for this side, win the championship unbeaten, and then go and I think we have a chance to go on tour and beat as well. But I think on tour, I mean, we're playing three games. You win 2. You sort of take that. I mean, but I think this side is definitely on a path to sort of be the greatest Boks side, and I think obviously they've done exactly what you sort of wanted from a Boks side to do, is dominate. I think the only blimp obviously is the drawn series against Ireland, and that took 2 amazing drop goals for them to win, and then now they're going to be in the Rugby Championship. Touch wood against Argentina as well, but yeah, it's going to be. I just think the duel at the end of the year tour, I think that's going to be them signed, still delivered as our greatest Boks side.
Here's another part of the argument. We currently in 2024 have a Springbok side that can play probably 3 game plans. A side that if you had to, what are our squad sides? 31. If we picked a 31-man squad, we can guarantee in that 31-man squad that every player will play a full game. We can do that now. We can play different game plans. Every single player in that squad is a legitimate starter in some way, shape, or form. I didn't see that in the 2009 squad.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the 2009 squad, I think obviously those out and out legends of the game, and obviously I think the achievement of what they did is there. But I agree with you. Where we are in this 2024 side is incredible. I mean, that's I think that's why Rassi stayed in the job, because he knows of the excitement of the guys we have, and I think we are clearly the best side in the world, and I think the only side that can actually, I feel, can come close to us is the Irish. I mean, that's the only side we've lost to pretty much in the last year. So it is exciting to see where the side is changing game plans, new players coming in. The side it's so exciting, and I think obviously I want to put the voodoo on them now, because obviously I want us to finish the job next week and then have a great end of year tour. I think obviously that's going to be an exciting test. But I do love the fact that most of the guys coming in now, Sharky, something in fact is most of our guys play USC, they're playing Europe. So for them, playing in Europe won't be as daunting as we'd say it was a couple of years ago. So which is exciting for me. But okay, Sharky,
Wait,
I think
I have
last one.
something. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. Oh, do you have another question?
yeah.
Oh, shoot. I can hit my one after this.
Yeah, 2026 has been announced that we're getting a full-on tour, the greatest rivalry tour. All Blacks coming to South Africa. We go to New Zealand in 2030. 8 games, 3 test matches. I think a possible SAA game as well. I mean, it is exciting. It is exciting. But another question is, what the hell is going to happen with the Rugby Championship?
It's taking a break every alternate year. I don't. So when are we supposed to be playing this game? These games during the Lions tour?
No, I mean, well, the Lions tour, Lions tour is next year.
Yes, yes. So that's not even a Lions tour. So are we playing this like June, July? Are we playing it then? And then going into the Rugby Championship and play them 8 times a year? Not that they're playing us. Like that'll be 5 matches 5 test matches that we play them if we play the Rugby Championship afterwards. Or are they going to shorten the Rugby Championship? Yo, Australia and Argentina will be pissed.
World Rugby is in a weird place at the moment where it's pretty much get your money and fuck everyone else. Like
they can't do it during June. They can't.
Yeah. So like
they have to do it during the Rugby Championship time.
Because my thing in 2026, I mean, it looks like at this rate, there's going to be about 644 test matches because there's that new international cup that's meant to launch then, and then there's so like okay, and I feel like even there we're like all the big teams are sort of playing in it, but there's no space for tier 2 sides, and now we've got this one where we like it's the world's greatest rivalry, which I mean don't get me wrong, Shocky, I'm very much excited about. Let us play the All Blacks as many times as we can. I'm thrilled for it. So I mean, but yeah, it's interesting to see where they're going to have it. I mean, I'm very keen. Obviously, I mean, it's yeah, so it's going to be fantastic. But yeah, it does. I mean, I always wonder what's going to happen on the Rugby Championship. I know, I saw on Twitter a lot of people were saying that, like going, yeah, but like stuff the Rugby Championship. But I mean, it's still rugby heritage. I do think we still need our premier Southern Hemisphere competition. I mean, there was a stage where we thought about incorporating Japan and Fiji. So has those plans just sort of gone to waste now? I'm looking big picture at this thing because I'm very selfish in terms of I want the World Cup to never ever leave the Southern Hemisphere. I do not want it to ever go to the North again. I spent 4 long years when Johnny Wilson and the boys had it. So I want us in the South to stay as strong as we possibly can. And I think for us to do that, we need the Rugby Championship almost every year because pretty much now, I mean, Australia, for example, Sharky, they don't mind playing themselves. I mean, they've been dreaming of having their own domestic competition without the Springboks in or the New Zealand side. But like poor Argentina, they're probably sitting like, what did we do? Like, there's going to get to a point where Argentina and then the Cheetahs are going to sit together and be like, what on earth have we done to our relative rugby unions? Because no one wants us.
With the Kings overseeing the conversation.
Yeah, or the Kings overseeing their conversation. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's like a 2-edged sword for me. Like in one case, I'm very excited to have this tour. In the other one, I'm like, yeah, but what's going to happen with the Rugby Championship? Because I still think we need. Because I mean, like, imagine like Ireland and Ireland and France go, you know what? We're the 2 best in Europe, so we're not playing Six Nations this year. We're just going to play each other. We're going to just spend. We're going to spend like 2 months just playing each other. So yeah, Yorks figure that out. We'll see Yorks when we can have our own like. But then also like it's the greatest rivalry ever. So I wonder how they're going to work it out. Is it going to be a one? Whatever happens, I want us to have the tour. But then does it mean if it happens in June, then Shark, that means you're not getting a inbound
European
tour.
Side. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that would be the inbound tour. But
yeah,
that would kill off the opportunity for European teams to tour here. And I don't believe World Rugby would agree with that.
France would be in at this rate.
Yeah, but France, no one would come here. Yeah, I hear you. So I initially thought it was a great idea, but the calendar makes me feel like it's a really bad idea because I agree totally. I think the Rugby Championship must carry on being the Rugby Championship. If it can run in June and we can play the Rugby Championship as per normal, then
Happy days.
happy days. What happens if we run it in 2026? So we're 2024, 2025. We are in New Zealand for 2 tests for the Rugby Championship. 2026, they're with us. So will 2 of those tests be part of the Rugby Championship? That's a way of going around it in a little roundabout way. But I don't think they will do that because it'll take away the whole branding of it. Like, you can't have the greatest rugby rivalry in inverted commas and have 2 of the last tests falling under the Rugby Championship banner. Like, that could be an issue. I mean, it could happen, but it could be an issue. So I'm going to go and say it's a bad idea if we can't figure out a way to do it without impacting on the Rugby Championship.
I agree. I love the tour idea. I think old school tours need to come back. I love that. And I think, you know,
but
like
in November,
in November,
let's South Africa tour in England for 3 weeks, for 6 weeks. Over the whole November series, we have dirt trackers who do everything. New Zealand go to Ireland, Australia go to Scotland, and then France and Wales can play.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I see Australia, for example, at the end of this year, they've got a chance to do the Grand Slam. So they're doing that sort of Grand Slam tour where they're playing all the home nations.
Love that. I love that.
I do want that to come back again, and I wish every Southern Hemisphere side had a crack at that in once every World Cup cycle. So next year it's our turn, then the year after it's the All Blacks' turn to sort of try and see if they can beat every home nation and sort of get and sort of get the little Grand Slam for us as well. Then from there you can sort of take dirt trackers and sort of get guys to play against and take a bigger squad. But yeah, I'm very much interested to see how we're gonna get around this, because I look at it from a cricket point of view, where we're all fighting now, where it's England, Australia, and India playing each other all the time. Am I going to watch it? Of course I'm going to watch it. It's 5 test matches. It's good quality. But also, but the Proteas aren't playing enough test cricket. But now with rugby, the roles are reversed. Like, do I want to see the All Blacks in South Africa for 2 months? Shocking, I'll probably go to 5 of those 8 games if I can.
Me too.
That's the worst part. I'm definitely going to watch it. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm very much excited, but I'm just trying to think of the product as a whole, of what about the other sides, because I don't want us to lose in Argentina. Like, they already suffered enough with Super Rugby going and the Jaguars on in there. Like, imagine not taking away a Rugby Championship twice in 4 years. Like, 2 of the what are you doing with them? I'd much rather have something where Japan and the Fiji comes in. So, but sure, we'll see how they go. But Shoki, you said you had a question as well.
Yes, when I was umming and ahhing about the backline for Argentina, we can have, and I was worried about 13. We can have Manny at 10, Andre at 12, and Lukhanyo at 13. Sorry, when I was talking about guys needing game time, I think Manny needs a chance to come back.
I agree with you. I do think Manny. I think, and I do think he'll get a chance in one of these test matches. And I would love to see him back. And the thing is, the interesting thing with this Pollard at 12 situation, obviously, it's sort of crept back in now this year. I mean, I think it's been since 2018 since he's played 12 for the Springboks, especially, and now sort of played 25 minutes of it at 12 against All Blacks at Ellis Park, and maybe it's something they want to put in their back pocket, especially with Andre Etienne being out. So maybe that's something you want to do. You put in your back pocket, you throw Andre in at 12 and see how he goes. But also, interesting enough, I mean, I'm very excited for the end of the year tour, because also a certain Damien Willemse should be back.
Yes, he's training with the Stormers, so
yeah,
I think he's going to be back soon, but I don't know when.
What I would love for the Stormers to do for me is I wouldn't bring him back Sharky for the box at all until end of year tour, and let him I'll actually let him go and tour with.
Yeah.
I'll let him go and tour the Stormers. Go play the first 3 weeks of URC, get all those kicks up, then come back for end of year tour. Sort of that's where you almost. I would use a David Willemse, like, as opposed to rushing him back and almost say Will Jordan situation where he misses a whole bunch of the domestic season and then comes straight back in test match rugby, whereas you can still ease him in during the URC, the early stages. I mean, that's end of. I think the URC kicks off the weekend. With the SA teams play the weekend, we play Argentina.
2 weekends.
Yeah, in 2 weekends, yeah, because obviously
we play Argentina.
The derby.
Yeah.
They do the derby because the prestigious Currie Cup. Someone forgot that the Currie Cup finals on the same weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then, Yeah, I mean, if Willemse comes back, and then I mean, Willemse also throws an absolute spanner in the works when he gets back into this side. So that's going to be even more questions if you're Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff when Willemse comes back. Because
forget about the Springboks. What about the Stormers? You got Mani, you got Sasha, you've got Damien, you've got Warwick. Like, what are you doing?
let me ask, let me throw another spanner in the works here, Shock, as I like to do. Damian Willemse played his best rugby, for example, for the Stormers at 12. So I think for me, he plays two. Oh, you got Dan du Plessis. Oh my goodness! But you have him at 12,
Bruin
for example.
must play 13. Yeah.
You have him
And
at
Sasha's playing 10.
oh
Sasha's
man,
playing 10 for the Springboks. I don't think he has played 10. He hasn't started a game at 10 for the Stormers. So
yeah, it's going to be. I mean, the only fluff he's played this year is for the Springboks. He hasn't played fluff for the Stormers yet this year. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, what's Dobbo going to do? Dobbo is just like, cool, I'm going to start transitioning into retirement. Rita, you can take over. Good luck.
I'd love to. I mean, I would love to see a situation of Damien Willemse playing. Oh, of maybe even Damien, if you're resting Damien Delindi, of throwing Damien Willemse in at 12 in one of the test matches. I'd love to see that. I would love to see that because I mean, he's been great at 12 for the Stormers. I mean, that situation with Willemse, obviously him being the ultimate player in that 6-2 split, 7-1 split. So it's going to be interesting for me to see what do we do with Willemse, because I think Willemse is also. I mean, Willemse is absolutely world class. So I mean, he can't not play. Like
we've forgotten about him. We're in a very, very, very comfortable situation where a player like Damien Willemse and a player like Evan Roos were not really missed.
No, 100%. But I think
that's why Will Jordan was brought back in, because they needed someone.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're sitting where we can go, cool, we can bring Damien in the way we want to. I still think, just purely on the way things go, like maybe the first game he'll come in, or well, he's going to play Stormers first, hey? So like he still starts. So then what's he starting at 15 again? And then Sasha is on the bench, or we think now is tough picking a side. Wait until November, buddy.
No, November is going to be absolutely wild. But before we wrap, let's do a quick little wrap up on some rugby results. Sharky, we finally got down to the Currie Cup semi-finals, and I must say, I've not watched 100%, but whenever I've seen, it's been really good rugby. I caught the last for the rugby this weekend. I saw the Cheetahs having to basically win a quarterfinal against the Pumas, winning 41-14. The Sharks, obviously, all the URC boys are sort of getting back into it, and the URC sides have used the last bit of the Currie Cup as sort of little preseason games, preseason warm-up before they get back into URC. But the Sharks 15 beat the Bulls 24-18. Cheetahs won 41-14 against the Pumas. The Lions beat the Griffins 62-5, and the Griquas beating Western Province 37-29. I know the Western Province side was full of the URC guys, but you can definitely like you ever watch a game, Sharky, where you can see like these oaks this is their first bit of contact, a first bit of rugby they've played in a while. That was what was the Western Province looked like. Also, you could see it was their first like proper hit out in their preseason. You're like, okay, cool, because as the Crickers were, I mean, as good as the Crickers were, I was like, man, you can tell with Province. I'm like, yeah, these Oaks they're nowhere near where they need to become URC time, which is fine, but it's their first hit out. But
yeah,
then
it's amazing. Like, I was very fortunate enough to do a bit of work with Griquas, and we beat Western Province in Kimberley. Like, it was incredible. It's such a bogey side for Western Province. Like, if I was them, I'd just absolutely load their team, load it every single time you go to Kimberley.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if there's one game that the Cricket's going to win, it's going to be Province in Kimberley. It happens every year now.
Yeah,
but we're down to the semi-finals this weekend. It's the Lions taking on the Cheetahs at Ellis Park, and the Bulls taking on the Sharks. Sharky, can you give us a prediction there? Lions or Cheetahs?
Lions. I haven't watched enough, but I have to go with the Lions.
Yeah, I have to go with Lions. And then Bulls, Sharks. It's going to be interesting to see what sides they pick.
Yeah. You see, remember back in the day, this was also how it was. Like, the Springboks were playing, and then come semi-final and final time, all the Springboks cruised back in to the Currie Cup sides. So like, there's going to be Oaks. that are going to be released from the squad, that's also the thing, Kooks. If your wish comes true that the first team are going to Argentina, then a whole lot of guys are going to be released to play to play Currie Cup. So that changes everything. Yeah, unless like the first team stays at home and then the second team goes overseas, then not a lot of players are going to be released.
Yeah.
So
100%.
But this is the business end. Now there's no more fun and games. Now Andre Pollard's free. He's in the starting lineup. No problem. There we go. Like Damian Willems, you've just come back from injury. This Springboks want you to rest up. Don't worry, we got you. Play 15. This is Currie Cup semi-final, buddy.
100%. I agree with you. I think more Oaks will get released this weekend, obviously, to play Currie Cup. I mean, it is semi-finals. I mean, I'd love to see the Sharks win. I mean, I'd love to add 2 trophies in the bag this season. But I think the Sharks win. I think the Sharks win. I'm gonna go for a Sharks win. But also,
Sharks are in a bit of a groove, eh?
And there's a bit of a span in the works as well. Shark, you're talking about the Boks in a year to a certain Cameron Honeycomb played in the weekend. He's back now as well. So now that's another span in the works.
What happens if he goes to Argentina?
What happens if he goes? And I don't think he's playing Currie Cup for a milkshake, Sharky. I think he needs to. Like I think he's
it's not Mills.
It's not. He's not just getting up there. I think they're probably getting him ready to.
I say he goes to Argentina. And they will rest Ulrich Loh, and Jasper goes with him because Jasper needs game time.
I think they would love to sort of see him in a test match environment before end of year tour.
And Ulrich at 4, Honeycomb at 8, and Jasper on the bench, or vice versa.
That is tasty. But Sharky, we also had the top 14 starting this week. There's no crazy league. The top 14 it ends last, but it starts first. Out of all the domestic competitions, I was like, I couldn't believe.
And the Pro D2 started a week before, and it also finishes roughly the same time as the top 14.
It is crazy. But top 14 first week happened, and we saw Bayonne beating Perpignan 21-19, Clermont getting a win against Pau 39-7.
That's a great result for Bayonne, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great result. And then you have Kas getting
Uzay Kasim. Sorry. Uzay's team, he started, by the way.
And then you got Castro beating Racing 92, 31-28. Racing still reeling from the CA news.
Did you see that try-saving tackle by?
Jeez, that was wild.
I can't pronounce it. I can't remember his name to pronounce it wrong. But also South, not born here, but he grew up school here. Played Western Province. Buddy Yang or something.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I'm butchering it.
It was a hell of a try-saving tackle.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Probably the best try-saving tackle of the season, and will be until the end of the season.
Yeah, no, it definitely will be. But I know Racing's got a few players coming in next year, so I think Racing will be fine as well. I mean, we saw Owen Farrell making his debut, but I know they've lost Sia. I mean, who do you think they're going to call fat and transparent now? Since Sia's playing Test match rugby.
So Joshua Tusova only played 2 games last season because he was injured. He did take a bit of heat at the end of the season. I think he's been lined up as the next one. I think he's going to be riding the shit the whole season.
Oh, it's going to be tough. Lyon beat Montpellier 26-22. Tough times in Montpellier.
Whoa, didn't Montpellier win?
No, it's down here as Lyon won. And then...
So Madosh Tambwe made his Montpellier top 14 debut.
Ooh.
So...
Little Sapphirs abroad.
Yeah.
Bordeaux won 46-26 against Stade Francais. Oh, shame. Jeremy Ward's got an injury as well. I think he's out for about 3 weeks.
Oh. So I was going to say that he didn't play, but I didn't realize he was injured. So
no, I didn't play. I saw his boot on the weekend, and he said no. Jeremy got an injury just the last game of preseason. I was like, oh man. Oh. And then La Rochelle, great win for La Rochelle over Toulon 19-15. And
so
then
Dylan Lates played 15 for them. Had a great game. I will say something. I actually watched that game. I will say something that La Rochelle were in danger of losing a game that they probably should have been 21 points ahead of at first time. They were all over Toulon, like all over them like a rash, and like managed to score a try. I think they had like a very small lead at halftime when they honestly should have scored 3 tries. They were dominating them. And then, Dill played 15, and then Toulon made a little bit of a comeback at the end, and probably the last play of the game, like one of the Toulon players was their prop, took out the La Rochelle 9. And I think it's a red card, but it was at the end of the game, so they just gave him a yellow.
It's those ones that you're off anyway. You're not coming back in the field anyway, so give me
Why
a
waste
red.
my time? Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And in the last game of the round one, Toulouse sort of went back to normal service. Has resumed, beating Venice 43-18. Did you see the two try assists by Blair Kinghorn? And also Blair Kinghorn is 15-0. He hasn't lost a game in the top 14 since he's got there. That
forgot about that.
He's been incredible since he's gone to lose, and he got two. I saw on Twitter two amazing try assists. I mean, he's playing unbelievable rugby at the moment. But yeah, Sharky, I think that wraps up. It's a good way to start the week. A good Monday, a good part, some good rugby. I think I want to say this should be a quietish week in rugby, but the last time we had a gap in between Rugby Championship games, we got assistant coaches leaving, CLs about to leave. So like you never know what's going to happen. You'd think it's going to be a quiet week, but you never know what's going to happen in rugby.
No, also I just realized I know it's the semi-finals of the Currie Cup, but this is the week before the URC kicks off. Oh no, we're not playing in the first week, eh?
We're not playing in the first week, but the Dragons are playing. So we back up. We go again.
So this weekend, Pody 2 top 14 Currie Cup semi-finals, and there's obviously the NPC. So Southland, was it Southland? Oh, I've got that wrong. Someone beat Hawke's Bay to win the Shield for the first time. Who was it? It wasn't Southland.
Was it Tasman in the last minute kick?
No, I don't think it was.
I saw Tasman won a game. The last minute kick, I saw all the All Blacks out. David Avila was up early in the morning. But I know Canterbury lost. I mean, every time I look at the TV and New Zealand's playing, Crusaders of Canterbury are losing a rugby game this year. Like, I don't think
Canterbury got pumped this weekend, I think.
Yeah, I don't think collectively Canterbury and Crusaders, I don't think they've probably won but 4 rugby games.
I'm so sorry. It was the Marco. That is, I think it's their first time ever. Oof.
Yeah, how wild is that? But I mean, we're almost close. I think next week when the Rugby Championship, because next week we'll have URC Rugby Championship,
Premiership and top 14,
Premiership
and NPC, and the Currie Cup final.
And then we're sort of back in full flow. So I think for all the dirt trackers, enjoy the last few weekends with your loved ones before you start watching. You're watching a lot of rugby now, but then you start adding in some domestic rugby. All the leagues are back, and then you're gonna have end of year tour. So please make sure you have a good break for your loved ones, and please make sure you guys subscribe, like, and enjoy our content everywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube as well. We probably won't have a pod later this week. If we do, we'll let you guys know. But Sharky, thank you so much, my man. What a great way to start the day. So we start the week.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Great chat.
Cheers, guys.